Of course, we were all eager to learn what would be left of the MCU following Avengers Endgame, and how it would impact Spider-Man Far From Home. Today, we're going to be talking about the connections between these two movies, and what it could mean for Far From Home as well as Phase 4 and beyond. We'll even talk about the havoc the Decimation wreaked on the universe, and what ended up happening to the Infinity Stones. Legacy. There's no denying that Tony Stark left one heck of a legacy behind. He was one of the early members of the Avengers, saved the day in the Battle of New York, and helped guide many current-day MCU heroes. With him gone, the future of the MCU looks more uncertain than ever before, and it's clear others are going to have to step up and help save the day. It's also abundantly clear that Happy Hogan at least believes that person should be Peter Parker. In the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, Happy tells Peter that he doubts Tony would have sacrificed his own life if he thought he wasn't leaving the world in capable hands. Sure, things got a little stressful when Thanos, the Black Order, and the Chitauri returned to Earth, but we know Tony did actually plan for the possibility he might not survive. He even filmed a holographic message for his loved ones after he was gone. It certainly seemed like Tony did indeed believe the world was in good hands, and that Peter was meant to be a part of that. But hey, Peter, no pressure, right? Have fun on your vacation and be glad you're back from being decimated for 5 years. Multiverse. Comic book fans know all about the kind of trouble caused by a multiverse, and yet we've been hoping to see the MCU introduce the concept for quite some time. Anyway, we've been warned about the ramifications of messing with the time-space continuum since back in the movie Doctor Strange. Wong said something about not breaking the space-time continuum with the Time Stone, but we don't really remember because, whoa, time travel, dude! The Ancient One also went over the dangers involved with messing things up in Avengers Endgame, and despite the best efforts of our heroes, things still got weird. The trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home revealed that the Decimation opened up a hole in our dimension. It seems like both standalone Spider-Man movies will involve cleaning up after an Avengers movie. A new enemy. Let's talk about the ramifications of the hole torn in our dimension by the Decimation. According to Nick Fury, it's the reason Quentin Beck is now a part of the MCU. He claims to be from an alternate version of planet Earth, and says he's there to help out. Excuse us for not being entirely convinced, Mysterio! Quentin Beck is known for his manipulative behavior and his stunningly good illusions. So there are a few possibilities here as we head into Far From Home. The first is that he really is Mysterio from another Earth. That doesn't mean he won't turn out to be a villain later on, but it's possible he's telling the truth about one aspect of his story. We're still watching you, Mysterio. The second is that he's lying about the whole dang thing. Maybe the rip in the time-space continuum is real, but that doesn't mean Quentin came through it. Maybe he saw the confusion caused by the Decimation and its reversal and decided to use it to his advantage. Regardless, it seems as though the events of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame have introduced Quentin Beck to the MCU for better or for worse, and we're just going to go out on a limb here and say it's probably for worse, since he's one of Spider-Man's greatest nemeses in the comic books. Mourning. Of course, all the surviving heroes in the MCU are going to be mourning the loss of Iron Man, but they're not the only ones who feel the pain of losing him in Avengers Endgame. All of those people who vanished in the Decimation and were brought back, they and their loved ones have Iron Man to thank for that. In the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, we saw memorials left in tribute to the late, great Tony Stark. We know that the loss is especially poignant for those who knew and loved him personally, including Peter Parker. He's grieving his loss all while being unable to open up about the close personal relationship he had with Tony. For all most people know, Tony was just the owner of the place where Peter had his internship. Iron Man 3 showed us Tony struggling to deal with the aftermath of the Battle of New York. It'll be interesting to see how Tony's protege copes with the massive battle that took place in Endgame, and the loss of his mentor. Rebuilding. It's kind of an understatement to say things got grim following Avengers Infinity War. Even the trailers for Avengers Endgame made it clear what a gray, miserable place the world had become after the Decimation. Scott Lang got blasted out of the quantum realm into a world that looked overgrown and ill-kept. And apparently, nobody even cared to police fugitives like Natasha Romanoff and Steve Rogers. But in the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, things certainly look a lot cheerier. It's clear that people are rebuilding what was destroyed or fell into disrepair. Although the world is sad to have lost Iron Man, it's clear people are working on moving forward. Even in the first Far From Home trailer, we saw Happy holding a $500,000 check from the Stark Relief Foundation. Could this be going towards creating homes for those dealing with the aftermath of the Decimation? There are some problems even superheroes like Spider-Man can't deal with. Vulnerable. And while the world is struggling to rebuild, it's pretty vulnerable. If, we don't know, some massive elemental monsters and a new character of dubious intentions showed up, things could get pretty bad really quickly. In Avengers Endgame, we said our goodbyes to heroes Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff, and Steve Rogers is out of commission. While there are some heroes left, the roster has definitely taken a hit. Even Peter Parker is surprised that Nick Fury has to resort to calling on him instead of other older and more experienced heroes. Fury informs Peter that Thor is off-world, and we dearly hope that means he's hanging out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. As for Captain Marvel, well, she's unavailable. We're not trying to say that Peter Parker isn't a great hero, or that he isn't a powerful one, but he's a hero who's way less experienced than many others in the MCU. If Fury is so intent on obtaining his help, that means things are likely going pretty badly in the world right now. The Decimation. It's kinda hard to say whether it was worse to be a victim of the Decimation or one of the people left behind. According to Peter in Avengers Endgame, he has no memory of what happened after he got dusted. He simply regained consciousness as if he had been asleep the whole time, but now that he's back, he has to cope with the fact that the world didn't stop for 5 years. He just missed out on it. That's a lot to deal with, and could have some interesting ramifications which play out in Spider-Man Far From Home. As for those who are left behind, they're dealing with the fact that their lost loved ones are suddenly back after being gone for 5 long years. But luckily for Peter Parker, it certainly seems like his friend group was decimated too, for the most part. Ned, MJ, and even Flash are there, looking like they definitely haven't aged 5 years. For the school's part, it must be a logistical nightmare to have half of your students disappear and then reappear 5 years later. We imagine it's led to some interesting new policies and a whole lot of paperwork. Infinity Stones. Avengers Endgame did provide answers to many questions, but they also left us with many new questions still unanswered. At the beginning of the movie, we learned Thanos had used the Infinity Stones once more, and had used them to destroy them. When Bruce Banner was explaining time travel, he said that changing the past doesn't impact the future the way we've seen it happen in movies like Back to the Future. So we know Thanos destroyed the Infinity Stones, and then Steve Rogers brought the ones he and his friends had borrowed from various points in time back to where they belonged. With that in mind, it seems like the Infinity Stones should be gone for good. Except that they're totally not, at least according to the Russo Brothers. They stated that Thanos didn't really destroy the stones so much as he reduced the stones to the atomic level. They clarified that the stones are still present in the universe, so it sounds like for all intents and purposes they're gone for now, but they could come back. Now, we aren't exactly expecting to see this come into play in Far From Home, but it's something to be aware of as we move forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Nick Fury. As much as we love getting to see more of Nick Fury on the big screen, he does usually only show up when something terrible is happening. So when we saw him at the end of Avengers Endgame, we had a feeling he was going to be an important part of Spider-Man Far From Home. Nick Fury has had a, let's say, interesting career to say the least. We learned some more of his origin story in the Captain Marvel movie, and we got to see him back before he even knew aliens and superhumans were a thing. What a simpler time it was back then. But fast forward, and he's been a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., saw it destroyed from within by Hydra, and now, well, we're not sure exactly what's going on with him. In the trailer for Far From Home, he certainly looks like he has access to some fancy new technology, like the kind he used at S.H.I.E.L.D. Could he have started up a similar organization like S.W.O.R.D. from the comic books? We'll just have to wait and see if Fury linked up with another powerful organization, or if he started his own. Supersuit. Although Tony Stark may be gone, his work lives on. Yes, in the hearts and minds of everybody in the MCU, and through Peter Parker himself in the eyes of every child, but also in a more tangible way. The Spider-Man Far From Home trailers reveal that Peter is still rocking some of the suits given to him by Tony Stark, and it seems like he's grown into them. In Spider-Man Homecoming, we saw Peter take the training wheels protocol off of his supersuit to almost disastrous results. Apparently, it came with a kill mode that he wasn't quite ready for, but we saw him activate this mode without hesitation in Avengers Endgame. And it seems like he's still wearing the suit for at least some scenes in Far From Home. There's also his less high-tech Stark suit and a new black one that we haven't seen before. Black spider suits are usually used for covert missions, and this one is very reminiscent of the Spider-Man noir suit. It makes sense that if Peter needs to go undercover, he should wear something discreet that helps him blend in, instead of a bright red costume. Sure, discretion hasn't been Peter's strong suit so far, but hey, he's still learning. What do you think about the connections between Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home? Are you excited to learn about the ramifications of the decimation, or are you ready to finally move on? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below, and then click on that subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Bye for now.